All right, Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I also want to say Shalom. Much due honors and respect to the sincere brethren out there that's laboring in this work and continue to push out this gospel in all diligence, truth, faith, and sincerity. So yeah, the topic of this sitting is going to be Book of Remembrance. Because for all the men, starting with the apostles and elders and teachers on down, all right, all the men throughout the landscape of Babylon, also known as America, and all throughout the world, scattered abroad, near and far, for us coming back to our identity and being awoken to who we really are, which are the Israelites, is because of this book. It's not because any external entity, it's not like we learned that we was the Israelites, through schooling or attending any of these institutions. It's not like the so-called white man put us up on game to who we are, all right? Because this devil put a lot of resources, money, and time into keeping our true identity hid. But it shows you the power of this book, which for all the brothers, the sincere brothers, we know that this book, the Holy Bible, embodies the spirit of Yahweh Shah. All right, that's why the Lord said, I will not leave you comfortless. The Lord also told us in Matthew, the 28th chapter, the last verse, that he will be with us always, even into the end of the world. And how is the Lord with us? By this book, all right? So with that, I want to start off in the book of Baruch, the second chapter, in the 30th verse. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. And how did we remember ourselves? Well, the book of Malachi, the third chapter, in the 16th verse. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. Right, so this book of remembrance is the Holy Bible. That's how we remembered ourselves in the land of our captivity, going all the way back to Abba Bivens. Why was he identifying himself as being an Israelite? Because of the Bible. All right, the so-called white man didn't teach him that. When you even going back as far as, if you watch the Nat Turner movie, when the spirit was roused up in him to go after those so-called white people, the Edomites, and put them to death, it was because he read the scriptures. And even until this very day, the reason why you have men calling themselves Israelites and pushing this word, all right, is because of this book, all right? This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 1. This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your minds by way of remembrance. And that's the way the Lord chose to stir us up, all right, by way of this book. Now we able to understand why we went into captivity. Now we understand why, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans is in the state that they're in. Amongst our people, they really scratch their head, they bang their head against the wall because they can't understand why, the so-called white man look down on them. All right, they put to death by these cops and there's no justice. They don't understand these things, but we, being a part of the hopeful elect, hoping to be a part of that righteous number that's reserved from the wrath of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, we have been awoken, all right? Our remembrance have been stirred up. We know perfectly clear why we in the condition we in. We know why these curses have pursued and overtook us, man. We know why our woman is out of order. We know why we vexed in this society. Because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments. The Lord opened us up to why, and you know what? That's heavy, man. And it's not nothing to take light. That's mercy in itself. The reason, the fact that the Lord showed us the reason why he's punishing us. That's mercy, man. The Lord could have left us oblivious to why we are going off. With the Lord actually telling us what we did wrong, that creates a certain level of remorse, where we can sincerely repent to the Lord and come back to him in the right order. But if it wasn't for this book being open, then we would have never remembered who we were, all right? And that's the first step of the battle. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. So by the Lord opening up this book of remembrance, so we were stirred up in our mind to know who we were and who we are to this very day, then now that answers a lot of questions for us, man. And you have amongst our people those who are not comforted by this. And it tells you that in Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, in the 1st verse. So I return and consider all the oppressions that are done under the sun. And behold, the tears of such as were oppressed. Yeah, and that's dealing with so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The tears of those who are oppressed, all right? Oppressed by who? The so-called white man. It says, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors was power, but they had no comforter, right? And that's what you see playing out. Our people cry out, they lock arms, they march, they protest. But after all that, the power is on the side of their oppressors, man. Why? Because they had no comforter. Now the Lord, in his mercy and being gracious to us, he gave us that comfort, all right, of knowing who we are, man, and why we are in the predicament we in. And not only that, but to know the outcome of what's going to take place. That's the reason why our people have no hope, because they believe that this society, America, being under the foot of the so-called white man is the be-all, end-all. But we see that light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. We know that this society is coming to an end, man. And with that alone brings about a heavy amount of comfort, man. It takes a load off just by knowing the end of the movie, all right? For an example, just a quick analogy, if me and you was watching a movie, you never saw the movie, but I saw the movie, I know how it's gonna end. So every time the boogeyman jump out, you're gonna jump, you're gonna be startled, you're gonna be taken. But me, on the other hand, I know when the boogeyman coming out. And I can go as far as leave the room, go get me some popcorn, get me something to drink. Why? Because I seen the movie. I'm not, caught up or a slave to that movie, so to speak. A person who haven't seen the movie, they're going to be sitting at the edge of their seat. And that's how our people are, man. They all engulfed in this place, America, because they don't know the end of the story. But we can leave the room, all right? We can step out, man, in the spirit. We not attached to this world because we know how it's going to play out. This is the book of Isaiah, the 33rd chapter, in the 6th verse. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure, right? So that wisdom and stability comes by way of the Holy Scriptures, man, which all goes back to being a book of remembrance. When you don't know who you are, man, then you lost, man, all right? You don't know who your enemies are. They can run circles around you. A good movie, man, a good movie I encourage brothers to watch as pertaining to this lesson is Long Kiss Goodnight with, I think the broad in the movie, I think her name Gina Davis, man. And for the brothers who saw that movie, they can agree that that movie pretty much goes hand in hand with this lesson, because she was a professional hit. She was a professional killer, but she had lost her memory. And by her losing her memory, her life was constantly in danger because she was right around her enemies. She was right around people that she was paid to kill. And they knew who she were, but she didn't know who she were. She was oblivious to them, all right? It was certain scenes where she was just nonchalantly pouncing around them. And they was trying to kill her ass, man. But once she got her memory back, then she was, on point about who her enemies were, man. And that's the same power of this book. This book have strengthened us, man. This book has given us a certain power to offset what Esau trying to do with us, man. Esau put a lot of stock into us not knowing who we are, man. If it wasn't for the Most High and His mercy of, opening up this book so we can stir up our pure remembrance, then Esau would have overtaken us, man. We would have been totally overcome by our enemies, man. But now that this book is open and we can identify who the enemy is, then we got a fighting chance, which we know that we're going to overcome through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. All right? That's why when you read about the Passover, when the Lord Yahweh Shah said, this bread that's broken is my body, eat this and drink this in remembrance of me, which was symbolic to these scriptures. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. All right, I hope there was an edifying lesson. Until the next time I say shalom.